Many of them didn't have to die. 50, 60% of them didn't have to die. In the midst of a pandemic, a health crisis, we need help. Yeah, we need living wages, sick leave. People are being sent into lethal situations rather than given protective equipment. And what do we do as a country? The Congress, the president, we gave 85% of nearly $3.5 trillion went to corporate interests. And people are dying and being sick to death. We gave people a name change from service worker to essential worker, but didn't do the essentials they need. And then people have to see a lynching, a literal lynching and opposing on TV. So what this is now is public mourning. No one wants the fires. Even many of the activists on the ground have said they don't want this, but they've also shared how their nonviolent pleas and protests have gone unnoticed for years as the situation has gotten out of hand over and over again. And no one knows who's behind this. There's a lot of questions. But what we do know is that countless people have said, change America, change Minneapolis long before this. And rather than listen, some people even saw the nonviolent protests as unwelcome development. So what we're seeing is public mourning. Public mourning. Now, Don, I'm going to say something real strange, maybe, from a moral perspective. Mourning like this is actually necessary to get where we need to be. I'm not talking about the fire. I'm talking about the protest. I'm not talking about this. But like you said, this country was founded on, so we can't act like the Boston Tea Party didn't look like this. But this mourning, as ugly as it is actually a sign of hope. And let me tell you why I say that. Because the worst situation for this nation would be for somebody to be killed like George Floyd was killed, for 140 million people to be in poverty and dying from poverty at 700 people a day, and nobody mourn. And nobody speak out. And they just accept it. They just accept it. This is what happens when people have experienced the deadliness of racism, but not only through police brutality, but also the kind of deadliness that racism has in policies over and over again. That's what we're seeing. Public mourning. Compound death. Black people are 6 times more likely to die from the virus as white people. Even before COVID, black people had disparities in healthcare that caused death. African Americans are 3 times more likely to die from pollution than other Americans. Black children suffering from asthma is nearly double that of white, and the death rate is 10 times higher. You cannot have this level of death to continue to happen over and over and over, day in and day out, and not think that eventually there's going to be massive public mourning. And lastly, Don, I want to say this. Look at the crowds. This mourning is so deep. You know, George Lloyd, was kind of a tipping point. But it's so deep that white folk in the street mourn. Latino people are in the street mourning. Women, men, children, young people. It's really, we better hear these screams. What the screams are really saying is, look, this is screwed up. Something's wrong here. And we may not be able to change it right now, but it's not going to go unnoticed. There's a scripture that says, there's a sound in Ramah, Rachel weeping because her children are dying and she is refusing to be comforted. That's what we're seeing. Public mourning, where people are refusing to be comforted, and America better hear this. We better hear this.
Listen, Reverend, I know that this, and you're far more eloquent than I am. I know that this can be a catalyst for change. I just don't want people to have to lose their lives as this catalyst is happening. And when I say I don't know what's going on, I do. I know what's happening. I just don't. I just don't understand how it is. Yeah, let me put it this way. I'm worried about the process and
Yep.
how it will end,
Yep.
especially with our void in leadership. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, listen, when you have a national leadership, and it's not just Trump, they've allowed him to get away with so much lying and so much vitriol. And when white nationalists march with AK-47s on the governor's state house, he said, doesn't say a thing, calls white separatists and supremacists, says there are many good people among them. And even when, he says, he pulls out that statement, which is a very dangerous statement. I actually think Trump is playing for the Richard Nixon, George Wallace angle at this election now. The 1968 chaos, and then he runs, as kind of the law and order. And it's a dangerous thing. You're exactly right. And we need to understand that. And people need to understand those that may feel like breaking the window that you may be actually enabling a narrative that Trump actually wants. When he says about when the looting stops, the shooting will stop. But then flip that over. What if he had said, instead of saying that, when a cop murders someone, there will be sure prosecution? What if in this country we had the same commitment to restore law and order when a police murders somebody, then we have this commitment to stop destroying the property? What if we had the same commitment to fix when people's lives are being destroyed? We wouldn't see the things we're seeing. I'm worried, Don. I'm worried about people being out there with this COVID, catching COVID, maybe taking it back home. And the only thing that's going to happen is we in this democracy. Now, I'm with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And even before this happened, we had already been planning for June 2020, a mass Poor People's Assembly and Moral March on Washington. Now it's going to be a digital thing. But, Don, this is what we're doing. We're not having a lot of people come pontificate about the poor. We're going to have white coal miners from Kentucky standing with black folk from Alabama. We're going to have people from white farmers from Kansas who will be standing with fast food workers from the Carolinas, saying that we got to address these issues and we got to change this narrative and we have to put a face on poverty. And we're not going to let anybody say, as Trump said tonight when he said the crown jewel of democracy is the rule of law. That's a lie. The crown jewel of democracy is the establishment of justice. It's the providing for the common defense. It's the promoting of the general welfare. It's the ensuring of domestic tranquility. And it's equal protection under the law. This crown has 5 jewels in its crown. It is not the rule of law. The rule of law is words used by stationists. When Dr. King and Rosa Parks would march and sit in, they would say, we have to restore the rule of law. And so we are going to have a moral fusion coming together. That's what we're doing in the Poor People's Campaign. Religious people, non-religious people, people who believe in the deep morality of the Constitution, deep morality of Scripture. And what we need in this country is a deep moral mobilization rooted in our deepest nonviolent traditions that shifts this narrative, forces us to see the pain that is existing because of all of the policy denials and policy hurts, and also, lastly, Don, that will build power. There are more poor and low wealth people in this country than in any election margin. The poor and low wealth people would organize vote. That's the power that we have, and we've got to do that. And there's got to be a mobilization, not just a political.
Okay, you got to let me jump in here. And when I talk about leadership, and listen, I think that you are spot on in much of your assessment. Okay, and that's your assessment.
Right.
I am also, because when you're talking about poor people, and I am with you. You fight and you are in the trenches for poor people always and have been forever and a day. And that's what I admire and respect about you. In this moment, And people always will talk you up and say, you know, you go, Don Lemon, you go, as we're watching arrests, Reverend, that are happening in Salt Lake City, and there's some happening in New York, and I will get to them because these arrests will be happening all night because we have curfew orders in place. So we will put the pictures up and we will let them play out, and then we'll get and we'll get to and I'll get to reporters and they'll talk about them. But what I want to say is, we can talk about the leadership or the leadership vacuum in Washington, and that goes from start to the top because the president is at the top. There is also weak Democratic leadership as well. Let's be honest about that.
Yes, sir.
But people love you. Oh, Don Lemon, thank you for calling them out. Thank you for speaking the truth. Reverend Barber, thank you for speaking the truth. But what about the leadership in other places? What about Hollywood? Strangely quiet. I hear them. I see them on Twitter. I see them. Oh my, I'm loving what Don Lemon's doing. I'm loving what this person's doing. Why aren't I don't? But they got to do more than that. Especially black celebrities and black leaders, and white celebrities and rich Hollywood and rich folks and wealthy people. Why aren't they helping these young people? These young people are out there standing on a platform at the edge of an abyss by themselves. And what they're doing, yes, I'm calling you out. You can be mad at me all you want. You're sitting there and you're watching TV and you're bitching about it. And you're saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm watching this. What is going on? Stop texting me and asking me, oh my gosh, Don, what is happening to our country? Stop tweeting me and telling me I'm loving what you're doing. Get on television or do something and help these young people instead of sitting in your mansions and doing nothing, and have some moral courage and stop worrying about your reputation and your brand. That's all I got to say, Reverend. I'm off my high horse. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're not on the high horse. You're actually, in the country, you're plowing deep. Let me say that from the political leaders, when we talk about poverty and low wealth and these things, we've had, they talk about middle class and wealthy. They won't do it, and that's why we're raising up people who will enforce it, because what has happened is people are feeling left out. Don, we have had 36 presidential debates, for instance, since 2016. Not one of them has been on systemic racism or poverty, with 43% of this nation in poverty and over 50% of the children in poverty. Those that have celebrity, we have to use our platform. We can't hide behind